I want to start by speaking directly to your exhaustion. That deep, silent exhaustion that comes from being the person everyone calls when they need something, from being the rock, the pillar, the safe haven for everyone, but feeling deep down in your soul that no one really sees. It is the pain of having become a kind of public service, always functional, always efficient, always available, but never truly valued, chosen or desired for who you are, but rather for what you do. What if the reason for this painful invisibility is the exact opposite of what you have always believed? The invitation of this meeting of ours is for you to contemplate a shocking and perhaps uncomfortable idea. Your constant and unlimited availability is not your greatest virtue. It is a soul leak, and it is the fundamental reason why you have become energetically invisible to opportunity, to people's respect, and even to the universe. To understand this, we will not use social behavior tactic, but the deep lens of Carl Jung's psychology. What is happening to you is not a time management problem, it is a problem of the psyche. You have merged so much with your persona, with the social mask of the helpful, the savior, the good guy, that your true self, your center of power, authenticity, and your own light has been completely obscured. By trying to be everything to everyone, you have become psychologically transparent. Think of yourself as water, essential to life, without a doubt. But water has no shape of its own. It always assumes the shape of the glass, bottle, or vase that requires it. And because it is shapeless, because it does not have a center or limits of its own, its presence becomes something guaranteed and therefore invisible. The journey we propose today is for you to learn how to become the rock, solid, present, with a very clear shape and limits, and with its own gravity that forces the world to go around it instead of simply using it. This video will reveal the 5 psychoenergetic laws that explain why your infinite availability erases you from the map of reality. And most importantly, we will explore how you can begin to cultivate sacred unavailability, an act of profound self-love that will force you to reclaim your presence, your power, and your non-negotiable value in this world. The first law we need to understand operates at the level of your most fundamental energy. The pain you feel here is that of vibrational depletion. It is the sensation of waking up already tired, of feeling that your life force is constantly leaking out everywhere, like water in a leaky bucket. And at the end of the day, when you finally have a moment to yourself, there is no energy left for your own dreams, your own projects, your own life. You have become a universal giver, but your own well is dangerously dry. What is happening is that you are violating a universal law, which we will call the law of sacred scarcity. In every field of existence, from economics to psychology and even in physics, the value of something is intrinsically determined by its availability. Gold is valuable because it is rare. Water in the desert is more valuable than water on the banks of a river. Your attention, your energy, and your time are the most precious and finite resources you have. And by making them infinitely available to everyone at any time, you, by an inevitable law, reduce their perceived value to practically zero. And here is the revelation that may shock your old belief that being good is the most important thing. The universe, understood here as a great field of energetic resonance, does not respond to your goodness or your sacrifice. It responds to the coherence and intensity of your energetic signature. By being always available, you emit a weak, diffuse, desperate signature that signals, "I do not value myself." Focused unavailability, the act of protecting and directing your energy, creates a strong, defined, self-sufficient, and therefore magnetic signature. So that you can see this in practice, I invite you to take an energy leakage inventory just for one day, without judging yourself, just as a scientific observer. Write down in a notebook every time you said yes to a request, when your body and intuition were screaming an internal no. And next to each forced yes, honestly describe the physical and emotional sensation you felt immediately afterward. Did it feel like expansion or contraction? Did you feel energized or drained, tense, resentful? This will be your personal map of your soul leaks. Think of your soul as a powerful power plant, capable of generating an immense amount of life force. Being always available to everyone is like trying to use this power plant to light an entire city with all the lights in every house and every street on 24 hours a day. It is unsustainable. The energy dissipates, the plant overheats and collapses. Sacred unavailability is learning to be the chief engineer of this plant. It is learning to turn off unnecessary lights so that you can direct all that energy into a single, powerful laser beam, a beam capable of performing extraordinary feats and illuminating your true path. The second law operates in the realm of our relationship, and the pain it reveals is that of instrumentalization. It is the deep and growing frustration of being treated as a function or a resource and not as a human being. It is being the friend who is only remembered when someone needs to borrow a car. It is being the relative who only gets a call when there is a problem to solve. It is the feeling that people do not connect with, but with your useful, which leaves you with a feeling of profound loneliness, even when you are surrounded by people who need you. Here, Jung's psychology offers us cutting clarity. What is happening is the tyranny of the persona. When you over-identify with your mask of helper, savior, or good person, you unconsciously train other people's subconscious to interact only with your role and not with your true self. People can't see your soul, your desires, and your limits because psychologically, you're not showing them. You've hidden your authentic self behind a mask of pure usefulness, and this is the breaking of expectations that puts the power back in your hand. Most of the time, people aren't disrespecting you on purpose. They're just automatically responding to the role you've cast yourself to play in the grand theater of life. If you've presented yourself to the world as a useful object, you can't resent being treated as. In order for the treatment to change, for people to start interacting with your inner protagonist, you first need to have the courage to take off your supporting role. To begin to change this role in practice, you can implement a simple method, the sovereignty pause. Before you automatically say yes to any request made of you, implement this 3-step pause. First, say thank you. Say, "Thank you for thinking of me for this." This is an act of respect that disarms the other person. Second, affirm. Create space by saying, "I need to check my commitments and I'll get back to you later." This establishes that your time and energy are resources that need to be managed by you, not by the other person. And third, withdraw. Create the physical or temporal space to make your decision calmly, based on your inner truth, and not on the pressure or urgency of the other person. Think of yourself as a water fountain in the main square of the city. Essential, beautiful. Everyone uses your water to quench their thirst, but no one feels truly responsible for its maintenance or your well-being. Access to you has become an acquired right. The journey now is to become a protected spring within your own private garden. Your water becomes even purer and more valuable, and access to it ceases to be a right and becomes a privilege, granted only to those you choose to invite into your garden. The third law we need to understand is the law of consequence. It manifests itself as the silent anguish that eats away at you from within. It is the resentment that builds up like a slow poison in your veins. It is the passive aggressiveness that leaks out in sarcastic comments or in an inexplicable procrastination in carrying out the tasks you have promised others. And often, it is the emergence of mysterious illnesses, chronic pains, and an exhaustion that seems to have no physical cause, but that robs you of the joy of living. What is happening here is what Jung would call the rebellion of the shadow. He taught us that psychic energy is like the water of a river. It cannot be destroyed, only dammed or redirected. Every no you swallow to be nice, every boundary you allow to be crossed, is an immense amount of self-assertive and dignified energy that is repressed. And this energy does not disappear. It accumulates in the dark basement of your shadow, becomes toxic, and emerges in distorted form to take revenge for your own self-neglect. And here is the revelation that can heal your relationship with your own burnout. Your burnout is probably not due to overwork. It is due to excessive inauthenticity. Your resentment is not a character defect or a sin. It is your soul's alarm system screaming in desperation that you are betraying yourself, that you are abandoning yourself. Your shadow, with all its uncomfortable symptoms, is not acting as your enemy. It is, in fact, being your most loyal ally, trying desperately to save you from yourself. To begin using these symptoms as your ally, we invite you to diagnose resentment. The next time you feel that familiar pang of resentment after agreeing to something, stop. Instead of focusing your anger on the person who made the request, turn the flashlight of your awareness inward and ask yourself, what boundary of mine was crossed here? What core need of mine did I ignore and betray by saying yes to this? Use resentment not as a poison to be swallowed, but as a highly accurate compass that points precisely to your boundaries that have been violated. Think of each forced yes, each swallowed no, as a shovelful of dirt thrown over the mouth of an active volcano. On the surface, you think you are keeping the peace, that you are avoiding conflict. But in reality, you are only increasing the internal pressure day after day, and eventually the eruption will come. And it will not come in the form of a calm, centered, healthy no. Oh, it will come as an explosion of uncontrolled anger, as a diagnosis of an illness, or as a deep apathy that devastates the entire landscape of your life. It is much wiser to learn to respect the power of the volcano and to let its energy flow consciously and safely. After understanding the physics, psychology, and consequences of always being available, we come to the scariest moment, the practice, and the pain that paralyzes us. Here is the concrete fear of saying no. It is the guilt that starts bubbling in the stomach, just thinking about disappointing someone. It is the discomfort of not knowing how to do it without creating a conflict, without seeming like a bad, selfish, or uncaring person. It is the fear that makes you say yes once again. Even knowing all this, when the time comes, what we need to understand is that for your true self, your intuition, your desires, and your creativity to emerge and speak to you, they need a non-negotiable condition: space and silence. And that is why sacred unavailability becomes your most important spiritual practice. It is the act of deliberately and intentionally creating pockets of time and energy in your life that belong exclusively to you, and that have no other purpose than your own being, your own recharge, your own emptiness. And here is the revelation that has the power to dissolve your guilt. You do not need an excuse for being unavailable. You do not owe anyone anything. I am not available for this, or this does not work for me at this time, are complete, sovereign sentences that require no excuse or explanation. The underlying reason, which only you need to know, is the maintenance of your well-being, your peace, and your energy. And your well-being is not, and should never be, negotiable. It is in this empty space that you remember who you are, away from the projections and demands of the world. To start creating this space in practice, we invite you to adopt the self-agenda. Grab your calendar, whether physical or digital, right now, and block out some non-negotiable commitments to yourself for the coming week. Write them down as if they were the most important meeting of your life. For example, Tuesday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., meeting with silence. Now, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., soul walk. Then, treat these blocks of time with the same seriousness and respect that you would treat a board meeting or an urgent doctor's appointment, because they are, in fact, meetings with the true CEO of your life. Think of your life as a big, beautiful garden. Being always available is like leaving the front gate wide open, allowing anyone to come in at any time, step on the flowers, pick the fruits without asking, and leave their trash behind. Sacred unavailability is the act of building a beautiful, protective wall around a special part of that garden. And at that gate, you place a small sign that says, "Secret Garden, in process of flowering. Please do not disturb." It is in this protected garden, far from the hurried steps of the world, that your rarest and most precious seeds can finally find the peace they need to germinate. We come to the final law, the one that governs attraction and personal magnetism. And it is born of our deepest, most unrequited desire, the longing to be genuinely valued, respected, and even desired by the right people and opportunities, not just for our role or our useful, but for who we truly are at our core. What happens when you begin to protect your energy and honor your center is that you begin to develop what we might call psychic mass, or the gravity of yourself. A person who inhabits their own center, who nurtures themselves, who is not afraid of their own company, and who has clear and healthy boundaries, becomes energetically denser, more solid. They cease to be a weightless satellite, being pulled into the orbit of all the other planets, and become their own center of gravity. And here is the break in expectation that concludes our journey. People, opportunities, and life itself are not attracted to your needing or your desperate usefulness. They are attracted to your wholeness and your self-sufficiency. When you stop leaking energy, trying to please others, and focus that energy on yourself, you become a source of warmth, a source of light. People are instinctively, on a soul level, attracted to suns, not to vacuums that suck energy. It is at this moment that you finally become magnetically visible to the universe. To amplify this energy of fulfillment, the invitation is for an encounter with pleasure. Identify an activity, no matter how small, that gives you pure pleasure and that has no productive purpose. It could be listening to music with your eyes closed, smelling coffee, reading poetry, or caring for a plant. Give yourself over to this activity for 30 minutes this week, with total presence and, most importantly, without any guilt. This act trains your nervous system to understand that you are worthy of pleasure, joy, and nourishment simply by existing. Consider that before, when you were always available, you were like carbon, an essential element present everywhere, in the air, in the ground, and because it was so common and diffuse, it became invisible and without perceived value. By applying the pressure of self-discipline through your limits and the warmth of self-love through your self-nurturing, all within a protected space, your sacred unavailability, you transform your inner structure. You become the diamond. It is the same element, the same carbon, but now with an inner structure that is solid, coherent, and reflects light in a way that no one in the world can ignore. We have traveled together today from the pain of being transparent through over-availability to the revelation that our presence becomes magnetic through our autonomy. We have gone through the physics of devaluation, the psychology of disrespect, the revenge of the shadow, and the creation of the sacred void to arrive at the law of magnetic presence. And the central truth that you can take away from this journey is this: sacred unavailability is not about rejecting the world. It is about finally having something solid, true, and valuable to offer it. It is the prerequisite for genuine generosity, the kind that comes from the fullness of your energy, not from the lack of your need to be loved. For the great goal of life, as Jung taught us, is individuation. It is the process of becoming who you really are. And this invariably requires the courage to differentiate yourself from the crowd, to displease some people, and to honor, above all, the needs and callings of your own unique soul. The world does not need another yes from you, said with the energy of exhaustion and resentment. The world needs your full presence, your focused energy, and your yes that comes from the depths of your heart. Give yourself the gift of your own calculated absence so that you can finally give the world the priceless gift of your true presence. Stop being always available and finally become impossible to ignore.